Hello, Jack here. I'm an active duty 68 Whiskey combat medic. I'm going to teach you how to control bleeding from an axillary wound by packing with a hemostatic dressing and applying a pressure bandage. Remember, this is done only during the tactical field care phase when you encounter a casualty with an axillary wound resulting with life-threatening bleeding. Alright, so the first step is going to be to lift the patient's arm, expose the wound to assess the source of bleeding. And rest the patient's arm on your shoulder in order to give stability. It may be necessary to cut away clothing in order to fully visualize the wound. The best position to treat your casualty is the seated position. If the casualty cannot be treated in the seated position, you will need to sit the casualty up as much as possible to apply the elastic bandage. If the casualty is conscious and able to do so, direct them to apply pressure on their wound while you get your equipment ready for the intervention. If there's a penetrating object in the wound, do not remove it, instead pack the gauze around it. Open your combat gauze and secure it so you're able to employ it without getting it dirty. Make a ball of the gauze in your hand. Have the casualty move their hand away from the injury. Visualize the source of the bleed and press that directly into the source of bleeding. Then pack the axillary wound tightly with hemostatic gauze until the wound cavity is filled, finishing the packing within 90 seconds. Ensure the gauze extends 1 to 2 inches above the skin. If you run out of gauze while packing, it may be necessary to take additional gauze and continue to pack. Take your excess and pile it 1 to 2 inches above the wound. Hold pressure for a minimum of 3 minutes. Reassess to ensure bleeding has been controlled while maintaining pressure. If bleeding has not been controlled and the wound is packed with hemostatic gauze, remove all the gauze and repack the injury. If packed with regular gauze, add additional gauze and pressure until bleeding has been controlled. After 3 minutes have elapsed, you're going to check to ensure that bleeding is controlled. If it is, then we're going to bandage the wound. Alright, if you're using elastic bandage without a closure bar, make sure to leave yourself enough tail to tie into a knot. Make sure you maintain pressure on the packing as you're doing this. Make at least 2 rotations around the shoulder. Wrap the elastic bandage across, back, and under the opposite armpit, anchoring around the opposite shoulder in a figure-8 pattern. Depending on the bandage you use, secure with the closure bar or tie the tails of the elastic bandage together with a non-slip knot. After you secure the 2 free running ends on each other, secure the knot with tape at least 1.5 times around. Now that the knot is secure with the tape, what we're going to do is we're going to swath the arm across the chest. And then we're going to assess for continued bleeding. Document all casualty care on a DD 1380.